today class discuss about main memory. So what is main memory? Main memory is a large memory and fastest memory used to store programs and data during the operation. The main memory is made up of RAM integrated circuit chips, but a portion of the memory may be constructed with the ROM chips. So main memory is consist of two types. Okay, main memory, RAM and ROM. First one, RAM. So RAM is a volatile. Volatile means whenever computer switch off, the data will be lost. RAM, random access memory, used to designate read or write to distinguish from a ROM. Random access memory is used for storing the bulk amount of programs and data that are subject to change. The random access memory portion of the main memory is needed for storing an initial program that is called bootstrap loader. The bootstrap loader is a program whose function is to start the computer software operating whenever power is turned on. So RAM is a volatile. Volatile means whenever computer switched off, the data will be lost. The contents are destroyed. A RAM chips is better suited for communication with the processor. The future is a bidirectional data that allows the transfer of data either from memory to processor during a read operation or from processor to memory during the write operation. The diagram shows the memory is 128 words of 8 bits per word. This requires 7-bit address and 8-bit bidirectional data bus. Bidirectional 8-bit data bus. The read and write inputs, it specify the memory operation, and to selection inputs, okay, chip 1, chip select 1 and chip select 2. Okay, control inputs are for enabling the chip only when it is selected by the processor. So the read and write inputs are sometimes combined into one line labeled R by W. When the chip is selected, two binary states in this line specify the operation of read or write. So the integrated RAM chips are available in two possible modes, that is static and dynamic RAMs. So the static RAM consists of essentially of internal flip-flops that store the binary information. The static RAM is easier to use and has shorter read and write cycles. It has shorter read and write cycles. Coming to dynamic RAM, the dynamic RAM stores the binary information in the form of electric charges that are applied to capacitors. The capacitors are provided inside the chip by MOS transistors. The stored charges on the capacitor tend to discharge with time, and the capacitors must be periodically recharged by refreshing the dynamic memory. So dynamic RAM is a refreshing the dynamic memory, okay, by periodically recharge the electrical signals. The dynamic RAM offers reduced power consumption and large storage capacity in a single memory chip. Okay, this is RAM about. And second category, ROM. Read-only memory is a non-volatile. So non-volatile means whenever computer switches off, the data will be. Okay, read-only memory is used for storing programs that are permanently resided in the computer that do not change. The contents of the read-only memory remain unchanged after power is turned off and on again. That is non-volatile. A read-only memory can only read the data bus only in an output made. For the same size chip, 128 by 8, it is possible to have more bits of ROM than of RAM because internal memory cells in read-only memory occupy the less space than the random access memory. For this reason, the diagram specify the 512 byte ROM while the RAM has 512 bytes. This is diagram for read-only memory. 512 by 8. So this memory contains 512 words. Each word contains 8 bits. The 9 address lines specify any one of the 512 bytes stored in it. The two chips select inputs must be CS1 equal to 1 and equal to 0 for the unit operate. Otherwise, the data bus is in high impedance state. High impedance state means a high impedance, the gate act as a open circuit, does not perform anything, does not perform any logical significance. So when input state equal to 0, then again output is the same output. In read-only memory, so read-only memory is a non-volatile tape. Whenever computer switched off, the contents of the memory will be there. That is read-only memory. So what are the differences between random access memory and read-only memory? So in random access memory, the RAM is used to designate read or write to distinguish from a read-only memory. Okay, read-only memory used to designate only read operation. So random access memory is used for storing the bulk of the programs and data that are subject to change. In read-only memory, used for storing that are permanently reside in the computer and do not change. Random access memory is a volatile. Volatile means contents are destroyed when the power is turned on. Read-only memory is non-volatile. The contents are not destroyed when the computer is turned off. It has bidirectional data bus. It has bidirectional data bus. The RAM portion of the main memory is needed for storing the initial program that is called bootstrap loader. And coming to memory address space. The addressing of the memory can be established by means of table that specify the memory address assigned to each chip. This is called memory address map. The computer system needs 512 bytes of random access memory and 512 bytes of read-only memory. There are 16 lines in the address bus. The table shows only 10 lines because the other 6 are not used in this example and assumed to be 0. A small x indicates in the address line those lines that must be connected to the address inputs in the each chip. The RAM chip have 128 bytes and need 7 address lines. The ROM chip has 512 bytes and needs 9 address lines. So the X always assigned to the low order bus lines 1 through 7 for the random access memory and line 1 through 9 for the read-only memory. It is necessary to differentiate between 4 RAM chips by assigning to each different address. So when line 10 is 0, CPU selects the RAM. When this line equal to 1, it selects the ROM. The table shows the first hexadecimal digit represent line 13 to 16 and is always 0. The next hexadecimal represent lines 9 to 12, but lines 11 and 12 are always 0. Next, these X represent binary number that can range from all zeros to all ones value. Okay, this is address mapping. So the memory connection to CPU, RAM and ROM chips are connected to CPU through data and address buses. The configuration gives memory capacity 512 bytes of RAM and 512 bytes of ROM. Each RAM receives the 7 low order bytes of the address bus to select the one of the 128 possible bytes. The particular RAM chips select is determined from the lines 8 and 9 in the address bus. This is done through 2 by 4 decoder whose output goes into the chip 1 input in each RAM chip. When address 8 and 9 are equal to 00, the first RAM chip is selected, and when 01, the second RAM is selected, and so on. So the read and write output from the processor are applied to the inputs of the each RAM chip. The selection between RAM and ROM is achieved through the bus line 10. The RAMs are selected when the bit in this line is 0 and ROM when the bit is 1. The other chip selected in the ROM is connected to the read control line for the ROM chip to be enabled only during the read operation. Okay, this is about the memory address map. And coming to a second concept, secondary storage. So what is secondary storage? So secondary storage, okay, use it to store programs permanently. For example, magnetic disk. వినిపిస్తుందా? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
So magnetic disk is a storage device that is used to write, rewrite, and access data. So magnetic disk uses a magnetization process. The magnetic disk is divided into plotters. Each plotter consists of concentric circles is called tracks. These tracks further divided into sectors, which are a divide, okay, smallest division in the disk. Okay, this is architecture for the magnetic disk. A magnetic disk is consist of a plotters. Each plotter is divided into concentric circles, that is track. Track is also divided into sectors. Okay. A cylinder is formed by combining the track at a given radius of a disk pad. So cylinder is a formed by combining the tracks. So there exists a spindle, a arm that is called read-write head. It is used to read from and write to the disk. Okay, the read-write head has to reach at a particular track, then wait for the rotation of the platter. The rotation causes the required sector of the track to come under the head. Each plotter has two surfaces, top and bottom. Both surfaces are used to store the data. Each surface has its own read or write head. So what are the disk performance parameters? The time taken by the disk to complete an IO request is called disk service time or disk access time. So the components are contribute the service time are seek time, rotational latency, data transfer rate, control overhead, queuing delay. The first one, seek time. So seek time is related to position. So time taken by the read or write head to reach the desired track, that is called seek time. Okay, what are the specifications of seek time? A seek time specification include full stroke, average, track to track. In first one, full stroke. It is the time taken by the read or write head to move across the entire width of the disk from the innermost track to the outermost track. And second one, average. So it is the average time taken by the read or write head to move from one random track to another. So average seek time equal to 1 by 3 into full stroke. And third one, track to track. Okay, track to track, it is the time taken by the read write head to move between adjacent tracks. Okay, these are the specification of seek time. And next one, so rotational latency. Rotational latency means the time taken by the desired sector to come under the read-write head is called rotational latency. It depends on the rotational speed of the spindle. So average rotational latency equal to 1 by 2 into time taken for full rotation. And next one, data transfer rate. So the amount of data that process under the read-write head in a given amount of time is called data transfer rate. Time taken to transfer data is called transfer time. It depends on the following factors are number of bytes to be transferred, rotational speed of the disk, density of the track, speed of the electronics that connects the disk to the computer. And next one, controller overhead. The overhead imposed by the disk controller is called as controller overhead. Disk controller is a device that manages the disk. And next one, queuing delay. Queuing delay means the time spent waiting for the disk to become a free is called queuing delay. And next one, how to calculate the disk access time, average access time, average seek time. So disk access time is calculated as disk access time equal to seek time plus rotational delay plus transfer time plus controller overhead plus queuing delay. This is disk access time. How to calculate average access time? Average access time equal to average seek time plus average rotational delay plus transfer time plus controller overhead plus queuing delay. And next one, how to calculate the average seek time? Average seek time equal to 1 by 3 into time taken for one full stroke. One full stroke means the time taken to rotational from outermost to innermost. So next one, average rotational latency. So average rotational latency is calculated as 1 by 2 into time taken for one full rotation. So one full rotation, time taken for one full rotation. So average rotational latency may also referred as average rotational delay, average latency, average delay. And next one, capacity of disk pack. So how to calculate the capacity of disk pack? Capacity of disk pack equal to total number of surfaces into number of tracks per surface into number of sectors per track into storage capacity of one sector. So capacitor dispatch equal to number of surfaces, number of track per surface, number of sector per track, and storage capacity of one sector. So surface, each magnetic disk consists of surfaces, each surface consists of track, track consists of sectors. And next one, formatting overhead. Formatting overhead equal to number of sectors into overhead per sector. Next one, formatted disk space. Formatted disk space also called as usable disk space. Usable disk space is the disk space excluding formatting overhead. Formatting disk space equal to total disk space or capacity minus formatting overhead. Next one, recording density or storage density. So recording density of a track equal to capacity of the track or circumferences of the track. Next one, track capacity. So capacity of a track equal to recording density of the track into circumferences of the track. Next one, data transfer rate. So data transfer rate equal to number of heads into bytes that can be read in one full rotation into number of rotations in 1 second. And tracks per surface. The total number of tracks per surface is calculated as outer radius minus inner radius divided by inner track gap. So these are the disk performance metrics. And coming to second one, magnetic tapes. So magnetic tapes is one of the secondary storage. Magnetic tapes also used to store programs permanently. Okay, but the differences between magnetic disk and magnetic tape it follows the sequential axis. Okay, for example, if you want to access particular record in a tape, then forwarding the data, forwarding and backwarding the data. But in magnetic disk, if you want to, if you want to read particular record, you can access that record randomly. So magnetic disk follows the random access. Okay, these are the difference between magnetic disk and magnetic tapes. So secondary storage always used to store programs and data permanently. So the examples of secondary storage: magnetic disk, magnetic tapes, CD-ROMs, and pen drives. CD-ROMs, CD-ROMs also known as WOM. Write once, read many. So once data has to be returned, then it can be read many times. These are the concept, main memory and the secondary storage.